What is up, everybody? This is Ben.
And this is Blake.
And you are listening to episode 3 of the Nothing New podcast. It's the focus of our podcast to help you do the small things that can in turn help you turn the corner with your health, your business, your life, and any other problem area that you may have.
Boom.
And there we go. We're kickstarted now.
I had to do it, man. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. So thank you guys for joining us today for this episode. We are excited about this one because we're getting deep. And I'm saying we're getting deep. If you had a chance to check out our Instagram page, the @NothingNewPodcast, you would have seen a map that we had posted a picture of. And it was all about today's topic, direction. And we wanted to start off because it's such an important aspect of growth and of challenging yourself that we wanted to spend some time today talking about it. So go check out the Instagram page, see the map, you can see the description, and you get a good idea of today's topic. So we're going to ask you a few questions to start off, and Blake, I'll let you hit it up.
Yeah, so basically I think the big question of the day is, I guess there's two technically, is where are you on the map? And then where are you going? If you can answer this is basically the whole reason why we thought this topic was a great topic to talk about, because I think once me and Ben actually started talking this out today, it's actually a pretty tough question. And it was a pretty tough process to put all this information together once we started researching.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a very accurate statement you just made there, because it is hard to do these things. It is hard to be self-aware enough to know where we are. And that's that first question is like, where are you on the map? So we are all on the same map. We're all doing the same, on this cluster of direction. But the problem is, some of us don't even know where we are. We can't locate ourselves. It's the whole Carmen Sandiego thing we were joking about earlier.
You sang the song pretty well, too.
I tried. I'm pretty good. But you look at it and you say, the first step is locating where you are on the map, and only then can you understand where you're going. I think those are two valid questions.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and just give an example from my part. Basically, probably about 4 years ago, I was working and I just didn't feel that, I just wasn't sure, I guess you could say, that I wasn't doing the right thing. I wasn't sure that this was where I wanted to lead my life and, follow this certain path. So I decided to, start trekking on my own here, and I kind of I went off my path and kind of went on a new route, so to say, to kind of see what else was out there. And I thought at the time I wanted to be in the oil and gas industry. Here in Houston, that's like
big time.
That is big time, right? And so I got with a friend, and he was already in the loop in the oil and gas, and he was like, "Hey, I'll bring you to an event. That's where you can kind of meet people and network and make some relationships and see where it goes from there." And I'll tell you, just as soon as I got there, I knew something. I couldn't really be myself. I knew something was off. And, I stayed at this meeting for a little while, and then I told my buddy, I was like, "Look, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I've met some interesting people. I mean, there were some very interesting people, but I just knew that I could not be myself," which goes back to our last podcast. Mm-hmm. I was being fake. I was not being my true self. So, then I verged back on to the path I was headed, and have been on it ever since. So I think it's good that we take these opportunities and, mm-hmm. Maybe verge off a little bit, but can you get yourself back to the path and keep going on that journey?
I think that's a pretty good idea. I mean, it's, those opportunities you mentioned, they pop up, and I think we have to listen, because in turn, those are kind of, if you want to get out that way, it's like the universe's way to tell you where you are and kind of give you those cues to bring you back in. My quick example, in college, it was, my current wife, it sounds terrible, but my wife right now, as of now, I think it was broken up, and I was struggling, and I basically lost sight of everything. I didn't really know where I was. My GPA, I was going from like 3s and 4s, I think it was a 2, maybe. Nice. Stopped going to class. I didn't really care. I lost, after all this stuff, I took some time, reflected, and really because I wasn't in class. I had a lot of time. So I really took that time to discover where I was, and in turn realized I was pretty much a fat slob. I was like 240 pounds. It was terrible. And, it kind of, my health reflected the fact that I was lost. And I went through this period where I focused on discovering myself again, finding where I was, and in turn, kind of a side bonus, I lost a bunch of weight. I felt a lot better, and I was able to grow off of that. So that's my quick example, and I think it's huge to be able to say you have to know where you are in turn to know where you're going.
Well done.
And so I want to give you guys a quick visual, and we'll get into some questions on how you can figure out where you are. So you think you've been to a theme park, you've been to the zoo, or you've been somewhere, and you get there and you're like, where am I going? And then you go and find one of those big maps, and those maps have the whole layout of the zoo or the theme park.
Hey, thank goodness for those maps, by the way.
Oh my goodness. It's like the gorillas move all the time. It's hard. You never know where you're going. And that's the part of this is that you get that sign and there's that big old X and it says, you are here. And that moment of relief kind of kicks in. You're like, oh, thank God.
That's just a process in itself. It's just finding the X.
That's true. You have to kind of dig through it all to find the X, to then find you. But you get my point. And so we have a few questions I think that can help you find the X in your own personal map.
Let's just I think the initial start question for this is, what do you want to become? What do you want to be? And I think on this too is be as specific and as clear as possible, because the more details you have for this, the easier it's going to make life, the easier it's going to make yourself. So if I think it's vague, then you probably aren't going to reach your potential.
I think it makes it more real. Like if I'm like, I'm going to be an astronaut, and you get into that whole thing, and obviously that's a lofty idea, but if you say that and you kind of give yourself outs. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I just know it's going to happen at some point. And I think for myself, I look at it and say, I'm a big picture thinker. I'm a dreamer. And that's kind of, the details are tough, but I think you have to be able to lay the details down. And if you do not do that, you're ultimately screwing yourself in the long run.
Right.
Valid?
Valid. I like it.
So yeah, like Blake said, be specific.
Have the details out.
And just do the best you can. Don't try and go into big. It's going to be a Tuesday at 1 p.m. I'm going to be wearing a white shirt. That's not good. Yeah, bad.
Next
question is, why do you choose that direction you're headed? Why? Because if you've laid out all of these goals, you've laid out these, this idea of what do you want to become, who you want to become, but you don't necessarily know the reason. If it's money, if it's some idea like that, it might not be worthwhile to do. I think. And
I say this too on that question is, this is your time when you answer this question to be a little selfish. Like this is for yourself, right? Like this is, yes, you might have family, but for yourself to be happy and know that direction that you're going, answer this for yourself and what you want most. So moving on, next question, unless you have anything else, Ben?
Well, I was just going to say, sure. I think you talk about being selfish. I think you have to be selfish to be best for family. So it's coming from the point to where I have a daughter and I have a kid on the way and a wife, obviously. And I look at it and say that I have to be selfish enough to kind of dream a little bit for myself, because I know I'll be my best self. And then in turn, I can help my family more. So I think you be selfish, but know that it's ultimately for a good reason. Yeah. So there we go.
So then I would say the third question would be, what are the positives that will come of this? And again, this is something that you literally get a sheet of paper and pencil and write it down and be as detailed as you possibly can. And this is going to help remind you of why you chose the direction that you're going, I think, in the first place.
No, that's important. And we've got to ask some of these cool questions, the whats and the whys. And then obviously with the dreaming aspect, you could say hey, guess what? The positives are I'm happy. Maybe I'm in a better career. Maybe I'm in a better living situation. Whatever it is that comes along with it, you have to have positives there to guide you. Otherwise, you're like, well, it's going to suck. So I'm not really sure why. And so have the positive kind of baited fish hook in front of you. Fish hook's probably not a good term, but you know what I mean.
I got you.
And I think the last question that we think that you should ask is the other side of the spectrum is what are the barriers? We've taken the positives, we've logged all that in, and now we're going to say, what are the barriers? Are you going to have to go back to school, perhaps? Is there somebody in there that could be a distraction to you? Maybe I don't know. There's all these things that can pop up.
And I think what you just said there, the distraction side of things. I think you have to realize, when you're heading a direction, some of the closest people that are closest to you are going to be that distraction. True. As much as they love you and they've told you this, it's still scary. It's going to be scary, for yourself, and they're scared because they might be stuck on this path as well, and they're too afraid to jump off or verge off a little bit and see what else is out there. So I think knowing that you are going to have distractions, and sometimes they come, with people that are closest to you.
Yeah, that's huge. Man, that's big because the people, they want you. I think part of that is like maybe your friends from high school know you as the person from high school, and they want you to stay the person from high school. They want you to stay that, drinking buddy, whatever it is. Maybe you're trying to stop drinking as much, and they're pulling you back in on that Friday, Saturday night. And so it's kind of look at it and say that's huge. I do think
it's so easy to get pulled back into that because, again, like you said, you've grown up with those people, and it's so easy to be like, you know what, you're right. I'm going to come hang out because I want to stay cool with my buddies. So just being aware that those distractions will come, and you just have to be ready to fight those and stay strong with what, your direction that you choose.
That's solid advice. So it's not to say like you don't have to cut those people out of your life completely, but I think you do have to have a conversation with them that says, guys, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm lost right now, or I'm trying to get on my feet and I'm trying to move forward, and I need you to support me in whatever small way you can. So have those conversations, especially with a group of close friends, a spouse, family, and they might not understand 100%, but at least you made the attempt to kind of get them on your side, on your team. Boom. All right. So I think that now we ask all those questions, I think the next step becomes you need to identify the small steps you need to take. So we've asked all those questions, and now it's like, all right, moving forward, what do I do?
And I think with that, you just said the word small, and that is key. I think it's taking very small steps, right? Putting small steps in place to help show you the way and to keep you moving forward. Keep that ball rolling, right? When you reach this certain point that you've placed out in front of you, you keep that ball rolling. And as that ball keeps rolling, it's just like the snowball effect, right? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You keep moving more and more and more.
Right. And you can play like all the cliche games, and you can say like a journey of 100 miles begins with a single step. And as corny as that stuff is, it's valid.
It is.
It really is. Like, they wouldn't make quotes like that if it wasn't true. And so you really do have to identify these small steps and know that, if we use the drinking stuff earlier, if maybe that just means one less drink a night, maybe it's one less night a week. It's not saying I'm done, I'm cutting it all off, because maybe that's not very realistic.
Right. But you started somewhere and you've made the small change.
Yeah, and I think just you've identified it, and you have to stay true to what you've identified, because that whole purpose of self-discovery that you went through, it wasn't a waste of your time.
And I think leading into the last little deal that we want to talk about is just remembering that it's a journey, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Mm-hmm. This is a process. This is a journey, and we just need to enjoy it and embrace it.
Yeah, and I think it's when going through this, we looked at it, and the term direction, I think, was a key thing that popped out of my mind. It was that direction does not equate to destination. For me.
Well said.
Well said.
I like it.
That's my cliche that's going to go on an Instagram post one day. But it doesn't mean if you want to be a better person, that doesn't mean you're ever done being a better person. It's a continual movement.
There's not an end goal of being a better person, right? It's like, I was good today.
yeah. That's like if I ask my daughter when she comes home, I'm like, were you good? Yeah. It's always yeah. But I do think you have to say that you've made the ideation of who you want to be, how you're going to do it, but that doesn't mean you're done. So don't stop because you've had a couple good days. Don't. And I think along those same lines, and as part of our discussion earlier, was that the direction, while it doesn't necessarily equate to a destination that's ever changing, you have to be open to change. You have to be open to opportunity, because it's
direction, like you said, but it's about directions, about how you go changing your life, and just realizing it's a growing and a learning process, right? And it's it's the continuation of that. And I think what's really cool about the term direction is you can start today. You can start tomorrow, but it starts soon. It's get that ball rolling, start somewhere and find where you are and go.
Yeah. Ask those questions that we listed out earlier and make sure that you're honest about it. I think in you're authentic. We'll throw that buzzword back out there. But yeah, like you said, it's key is we can dream up all these cool things and we can do all this stuff. But guess what? If you don't ever start it, what's the point?
And make sure that while you are on your journey is to remember that, again, that we need to make sure that we're staying open to possibilities. I mean, you cannot close yourself. If you close yourself off, I think that is just not a good thing because you're going to miss so much.
Right.
Nobody wants to miss anything, right?
Right.
Do you have any,
Well, I think on that is like, yeah, if you're headed north and you know you're headed north, you might have to take a slight detour on that path. The road might be closed or it's under construction and it's going to take a little bit longer, but you're still trending north. And to not like, yes, being open to opportunity, being open to change, but know that it's not going to deter you from the ultimate goal of I'm going to get north. Hopefully that makes sense. And I think kind of as we close this bad boy off, as we look at it and say that this was a very tough thing to kind of break down. Direction it's a big word.
It is a big word, and there is so much more with direction that we are going to talk about, like change of direction. I mean, That's just one example. But like you said, whenever we both started doing some research on this thing, I was like, ooh, we got ourselves in pretty deep with this one.
Yeah, because we're trying to keep these short, and it's a challenge to say that direction, it seems I can, put it into 160 characters or whatever it might be online, but to talk about it, it really does open up. And I think for me, we want to end this kind of giving our own description, and we try to break it down in one sentence, what is direction? And for me, I look at it, and it's kind of this journey of self-awareness. And I think that being self-aware, like we talked about in the beginning, knowing where you are on the map and knowing that you're going to be ever changing and kind of staying open-minded about that, it's phenomenal. And you will always continue to grow. You'll always continue to trend up if you are self-aware of the entire process.
I would say direction for me is pretty simple, and it's just to keep moving forward, to keep trucking along, if you would say. I think, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. Right? So It's start today, move forward, keep moving forward. Realize that, yes, you're going to have things come your way, a roadblock, right? You're going to have that barrier. You know what? Take the turn, jump over it, run through it. I don't care. Keep trucking, keep moving forward with it.
That's a pretty solid way to end this bad boy.
Well, actually, I want to...
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I got a lovely quote that I came across, with doing some research by a pretty popular person here, Lao Tzu. I hope I pronounced that right.
Sounds decent.
No, but his quote is, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you're anxious, you are living in the future. If you're at peace, you are living in the present. So our question to you guys is, where are you living here in the current moment of your life?
I'm going to let that settle in for a little bit because that was good. That's a good, kind of gave me goosebumps.
Should I ask it again?
Ask it one more time.
All right, one more time, guys. So, where are you living here in the current moment of your life? Oh, man.
So that, I really, honestly, we're laughing about it, but I really want you to take that time to kind of let that sink in and ask yourself that question and then write it down. If you just want to write the question down and come back to it when you're ready, come back to it. But still ask the question. And so that is going to wrap up today on direction. I feel like that was emotionally wearing on me because there's so much that came out of it.
Very tough topic.
But I'm glad we were able to have that conversation. So guys, this is the end of episode 3. And we would love it, appreciate it, respect it, however other way you can say it is if you guys would go to iTunes and give us a review and a 5-star rating if you feel we've earned it. And then take one of these and share it with a friend or share it with a family member. Maybe they don't necessarily listen to you. We kind of all have that person that's close to us that maybe might not. You're kind of like that nails on a chalkboard voice and they're like, I get it. But maybe this could be something that could help them move forward and make you look like a hero in the process. I don't know.
Everybody wants to be a hero, so...
Please
share.
Please share. We would really appreciate that. And then, definitely keep going and checking out right now the at Nothing New podcast on our Instagram page.
And throw any comments, any questions that you have at us as well. I mean, we want that interaction with our community. So any listener, if you have a question, please don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, put it up there. And then we want to connect with you guys. So on that note, we're out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.